My name is Lou Parsons. I'm an associate broker at Keller Williams at the State Street office here in Ann Arbor. And one of my associates is Cheryl Lucas. Cheryl is a real estate agent, and she's also a manager for H&R Block. And she's the person who's going to talk about the money tonight. We'd like to thank Midwest Financial Credit Union for having this seminar tonight and for allowing us to meet with you to try to help you educate yourselves as you think about buying a home. I want to reference the handout and that you have in the first page of it says buyer service profile. These are some questions that when you decide to buy a house, some real estate agent is probably going to ask you, or you need to ask yourself. And you know, a lot of it is, what are you looking for? For some people, a condo is what they're looking for. For some people, it's a single family. Some people would like to buy a rental property and live in one half and rent out the other half. So, you know, there are all kinds of options there, and each one of those has its pros and cons depending on your lifestyle and what you're looking to do. So when you look down this sheet, these are questions you should ask yourself. What are you looking for? What are the things that you absolutely would have to have? I met with a couple last night, and they have a carport, and then they're in a condo. They have a carport, and then they have a parking place. And about number one on their list was a two-car garage. And after the January, December, November that we've had, I understood that. They were really tired. Scraping those windows, and when it's 0 degrees and the wind chill's -12, is not exactly fun. So what are the things that you absolutely have to have? That's something you need to think about. And I often suggest that you take a legal size sheet of paper. I call this, it's called the Ben Franklin close, is actually, there's a name for it. But you take a legal sheet of paper, draw a line down the middle, and on one side you put the wants, and the other side you put the needs, absolutely have to have. And then when you get your list together, assign a value to them. If it's really important, it's a 5. If it's not so important, maybe it's a 1. And so then as you go through, it helps you, at least intellectually, make some decisions about where you could make the trade-offs. If you found a house or a condo that had most of the 5s, but maybe a 2 for one of them, or a couple of 2s, could you live with it? Because a lot of this is just getting to know a little bit about yourself, the dream that you have. I always tell people, I help people buy dreams, fulfill their dreams. So what are your house dreams? You may not get it the first time out, just an FYI. But you're making a great decision to invest in yourself, to start forward. So when you know what it is that you'd really like to have and where you can make your compromises, then you can look at properties that are going to be the most important to you. So just one of those things you need to think about. Another thing you need to think about is how you're going to buy this property. Do you have a job? What do you make? And we're going to talk a little bit more as we go through this process. Do you have down payment money? Many of you may or may not know that not only do you have a down payment when you buy a house, but there are also costs to buy that house. Those are called closing costs. Sometimes you can negotiate to have some of those closing costs, or a lot of those closing costs, paid by the seller of the property that you're buying. And you remember, when you're buying property, you're negotiating. So one of your goals is to educate yourself, find a real estate agent that you're comfortable with who can help you through the process, decide what the important things are, and give you information so that you can negotiate in your best interest. So those are some things to think about as you go through. And the best thing to do before you start doing anything is to get pre-approved for a mortgage. Because there is nothing worse, let me tell you from personal experience, to be looking at homes that you're really excited about, and you're starting to fall in love with this house, you're getting emotionally attached, and then you find out that there's no way you can buy it. It's really hard to back up and have to start the process all over again. So above all things, to protect your heart, get pre-approved. Find a lender, someone you can. Midwest is a great place to start. You know, sometimes you need to get a couple of options. Find the one that's got the mortgage program that's going to be the best for you. I think that's really crucial. A lot of lenders have a lot of programs. Find the one that's going to work for you. And one of the things you do need to know is and you hear lots of press about this, the interest rates. Interest rates are great. Yeah, they're great. But you need to know interest rates do this. Sometimes they change hourly. So when you talk to a lender, realize that they're telling you at that moment in time what the interest rate is. The only time you can lock an interest rate is when you have a home that you want to buy. So when you read all of this information about interest rates, know that there are lots of options out there. Know that that rate can change. And until you have a property that you want to buy, you cannot be locked in to that interest rate. So just remember, it's, you know, today the stock market was up, interest rates may go up. Sometimes they go down. Good news is sometimes bad news for interest rates. And bad news can be good news for interest rates. So it's very complex. There's never one single issue, unless somebody dropped a bomb, I guess, that would really put everybody in the same place at the same time. One of the pieces that you're going to find really interesting and helpful is a flow chart. It's 3 or 4 pages in, and it's called the home buying process. And this starts with finding the realtor you can trust, analyzing your needs, doing the financing, looking at homes, the whole thing, all the way to the bottom where it says, you take possession of your new home, which is pretty exciting. So as you go through the process, you're going to find that there are some things that are happening all at the same time. Some things can't happen till something else happens. So this is a sequence of events that will get you through the process as you're buying your first home. And then there's a sheet that talks about everything you should know about purchasing, talks about why you should use a realtor, and obviously we're a little prejudiced along those lines, but I heard an interesting testimonial last week from a new employee for Google who had finished an MBA and was coming to Ann Arbor and was going to do this all on his own. And started on the internet. How many of you been on the internet looking at properties? Come on, it's okay. Some of you have, all right. The statistics are that, you know, 80% of the people start on the internet. They're looking for properties. So this is where he started. After 2 months of trying to figure out where things were, he'd been to U of M as an undergrad. And if you've been an undergrad, you look at a town entirely differently when you're thinking about buying a house or a condo. So what he thought he knew, he really didn't know. And long story short, he got so confused and realized that even if he had all these properties, there was no way he had access to them really, that he really needed to find someone. And he got a reference from a family friend and had a very successful process. But his testimony in front of a room full of realtors was, I understand now why you guys are so important and what value you bring to this whole procedure and this home buying process. So I'm saying that just an FYI to you that we know neighborhoods, we can get access to homes, we can show you any house that anybody has for sale. So regardless of who has it for sale. So we're valuable, our goal is to help you make a good decision. So please call on us. Ask us lots of questions. That's what we're here for.